onto this computer. Hey, what's up, Kirk?
Hey, Mitch, how you doing?
I think I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Yeah,
Glad to hear it.
yeah. So why don't we do our episode in reverse today? So what are you listening to?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. Well, I discovered this band or this artist called Space Africa with a K at the end. Africa with a K.
Yeah,
Um, and their album Honest Labor, I thought was really good. It's
nice.
it's kind of, it's like spacey electronic. There's some hip hop elements to it. But the really cool like vocals on most of the songs. Yeah, check it out. It's pretty cool.
Cool. I'm down with anything spacey,
Hmm.
and I'm doubly down with anything electronic. So, you know, they both that's like a +3 to me, right?
Excellent. +3.
Yeah, right.
What are you
Um,
listening to?
you know what? I'm just listening to Boris.
Oh,
Just
okay.
all
Yeah.
Boris all
Yeah.
week, you
I
know?
listened to some Boris this week too.
Yeah, what did you listen to?
Um, I'd have to go and look at the things. There was one like oh shoot, I can't remember now. It was like the
What
Sound of Japan or something like that.
what'd the cover look like?
I think it was like purple. Um, I don't know. I'll have to look again.
Oh,
Um,
does it have was it purple? Was it Heavy Rocks?
um, that's one of the ones I looked at. But I didn't listen to Heavy Rocks because didn't that one have some live performances on it?
Can't remember. But yeah, I listened to Heavy Rocks actually. I should remember because I just listened to it, but I don't remember if it was live or not.
Okay.
But
Well, I did listen to one called Tokyo Wonderland. That's what I was thinking of, and
yeah,
that's a lot of live stuff. And then I listened to, oh yeah, I think it was Japanese heavy rock hits.
yeah,
Oh, and new album 2009. That's what it's called.
nice.
So yeah. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Boris is really great. You know, I was really getting into Boris. They have a kind of a cool sound, and they s- they kind of cover a whole wide range of sounds across their records. You know.
mhm.
Yeah, I listened to Deer, and I think I listened to Pink, and then I probably listened to that new song again once.
Oh
It's
yeah.
the song because it was a good song, you know. It was it was pretty good. Yeah, you know, but then you know what I did is I read some Boris articles, right? So they have all these they have like a blog that, but it's not called Boris, it's something else,
Hmm.
you
Okay.
know, and they just have these blog posts there. So I read a couple of those, and then I was reading about Wata, who plays the guitar, and she's got this Elk Sonic, or no, it's an Elk brand Sustainer, right? But it's also sold under Electro Sound Sustainer, right?
Okay.
And it's basically a big muff. And then she got some deal with, or she's doing a deal with Earthquaker, right? Where Earthquaker is sponsoring her, and they've made this Hisumitis pedal, right? And it's basically it's based on her, um, you know, elk, you know, Sustainer, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, so I thought, well, shoot, you know, I'm not going to go buy one of those, like, but can we make one with the spare parts?
Did you find
So,
a schematic for it?
well, yeah, you know what I did is I went to that's a great question. I went to the Big Muff page, right? And the guy's got the schematics for all the Big Muffs there. And then I told you last week that I made this circuit board, right? That has all the part numbers from the Big Muffs on the Big Muff page, right?
Oh, right, right.
Right. So I just went there and I was like, okay, where's the elk? You know, I found the elk there, and they're like, oh, it's almost identical to the like 1970 triangle Big Muff or something, except for like a couple details, right? So one of the details is it uses PNP transistors instead of NPN in
Mm-hmm.
transistors, so the battery's reversed, right?
Hmm. Okay.
But then the transistors were just kind of like silicon, like kind of low gain, 90 to 200 HFE, right? Transistors, which is like, it's, you can, there's other features of the transistor, but that's kind of low, so they're kind of like 1970s cheap ass transistors or something, right? And then a couple of the caps and a couple of the resistors were a little different, right? In particular, they said one of the caps in the tone stack kind of gave it more high end when you got a lot of bass. So it had a particularly
Interesting.
good tone control, And so, what I did was I was like, well, I wonder if I could build one of these. And I was thinking like, yeah, I got some low gain, PNP transistors, right? I
Mm-hmm.
got these from this place called Caps and Such, right? And then they were sold to me as like GE PNP, but they were really cheap, but they're totally silicon. They're like, those guys are like, just, they either, I just kind of give them the benefit of the doubt and think that maybe they didn't even know they weren't germanium, because they were so cheap. But
Mm.
but I was going to use these, and the problem is if you build a circuit with PNP transistors, the battery's backwards. So that means if you're not using a battery and use the daisy chain, all the noise from all the digital effects goes into the, like the power supply of your, effect that's in the daisy chain with those other devices, right?
Right.
So it's kind of like shit, I don't want to build something like that, and I don't want to put a battery in it. And so then I was like, well, you could build a negative power supply with a charge pump, right? So then it would run on positive voltage, but inside it would flip it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
get kind of the opposite. And then I was like, oh, that's way too much work, And then I was like, well, screw it. You know what? I bet I have some NPM and transistors, which are the regular kind. So they are
Yeah.
different, but they're about in the same gain range, right? So I got some of those, and then I did all the other parts the same way as was on the schematic on the Big Muff page, right?
Okay. And did
Yes,
you finish this or
yeah, I
still
did.
working?
Yeah, I
You
got it
did.
right. I got it right here. I'm gonna look for these transistors that I used, right? They're somewhere over here. Oh, here they are. So I used some of these. They're kind of funny. They're in these little metal cans. So they look old, like 70s,
Yeah.
right? So these were about like 200 to 300 gain. That was a little high, but it was in the realm of the ones that were in the original.
Mm-hmm.
And then I milled up a box, and here it is.
Oh, it looks great.
Yeah,
It,
thanks.
when I saw that on YouTube, I thought, I wonder if that has anything to do with Steve's electronics.
Well, it was like kind of like a little nod to Steve just for fun, because like, yeah, his company's Elk, but the original Sustainar was Elk. The company was Elk.
Right.
Steve, I guess, is Elktronics, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then their other alternate company was Electrosound. So I just put both names on here,
It looks
and
really
then
good.
and then I got these knobs. Remember, I got that wrong order from Taita. So
Mm-hmm.
I had these knobs. I didn't order them, but they came from Taita through that order by accident. And I was like, oh, great. they'll look great on my stomp box.
It really does. Yeah, it's a very serendipitous knob choice.
Yeah, this thing sounds pretty good too.
Does it sound like Wata?
I don't know if it sounds like Wata, but it does sound good. It's a good sounding Big Muff, or one that I like. I like the sound of this one, especially if you play with a light touch.
Hmm.
Like, so if you just play very lightly, it just has this really singing sustain, and it's
Ah.
really nice, It's not like super crunchy. It gets a little, doesn't sound as good if you're playing really hard and banging the strings, But
Mm-hmm.
if you're just playing very lightly, it really sings. So this came out pretty good, and that was kind of my project for today. Um, yeah, I guess that's about it. What have you been working on?
Well, I didn't really want to talk about it, but I was trying to finish off my bass and just doing some soldering, and I decided it wasn't the day. I just my eyes and the you know manual dexterity isn't there. patience not there. It's it's those little tiny contacts on those stacked pots. That was really frustrating me. So I'm gonna save that for another day. I've got Thursday off because it's Thanksgiving. Maybe I'll do some soldering then. But I decided it was time to start shopping for some future projects. So I'm working on getting some parts in for want to get the parts for the stage master.
Oh, cool.
We're gonna make that into the kind of like the Steve Vai setup, but
Yeah,
with
yeah, that'd be
active
fun.
the red active pickups from GFS. And I need some other parts for some other guitars, including it's over there now, but I've got a Melody Maker husk that was given to me that I've decided it needs P90s, so I might have to enlist your help with routing it out for the P90s.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah, we can do that. That's not hard.
And then I need to make a pick guard for it also.
Yeah.
So a lot of work for that one.
Yeah, yeah, I think we could do that one. I don't think that'll be too hard, What else? We were talking about that big muff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had some thoughts on the whole clipping thing and the sound, right? Because I have another big muff that I really like, and it's also kind of low gain transistors. So I have this kind of theory, that basically you get all the signal from the first transistor, right? So that's kind of important, but you can turn that down with the sustain control, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then the second stage has these two clipping diodes, but the diodes clip at a certain level, right? So like if you get a transistor maybe with a high gain, it's like clipped more often or harder, just a little bit harder, right? Where if you get the transistor down to where it's just around the clipping threshold, like you kind of get this cool dynamic, right? But the thing is the diodes always clip at the same level, and it's like, I don't know, 0.7 volts or something. So actually, big muffs, they're supposed to sound really loud, right?
Mm-hmm.
But actually, like when you look at the waveform on the oscilloscope, or like when you record it, and you see that kind of waveform, it's always like lower, it doesn't have the dynamic of your clean guitar.
Right. Yeah. So are you so you're working on some lower gain big muff ideas? Is that
Well, no, it's just like I think they kind of the clipping sounds cooler maybe with the low gain transistors. It's not a big difference, but there's a little bit of difference there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it could make the fuzz more usable or musical.
Yeah, maybe, right?
I mean, we had that discussion a few weeks ago about like people using fuzz in easy listening music, like in the '60s. That was like the fuzz wasn't necessarily this heavy rock thing. Um, and then of course we found out that Jimmy Page played the solo on that Francois Hardy song. Um, but there were a lot of other like kind of crooner type singers or like pop singers that used or that had fuzz guitar in the background of their songs. And yeah, it just makes you think that fuzz does not have to be this heavy production.
Yeah, you know. Anyway, I had a good time building this. It was kind of fun just kind of researching it.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of the clipping too, it kind of made me wonder about something else. Um, I built a couple clones of that 1981 Devices DRV,
Mm-hmm.
and it's basically like a rat, right? So, but instead of having a transistor at the buffer, on the input, and then a transistor on the output, kind of like the rat does. It's basically just got op amps on either end, right? And then there's like it has a clipping section and the filter control from the Rat. But the other difference is it also has a charge pump. So it runs on like 18 volts. And I haven't looked at the schematic like super close, like I don't remember, but it got me, I was starting to think about that and I was like, well, even if the power supply goes up to 18 volts, like the clipping at the op amp is always going to be within the diode threshold, right? So like maybe the charge pump might not even be doing anything in that circuit, right? Like you just run
Interesting.
it on 9 volts and it'd kind of be the same thing. But I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I haven't built it, but I just was thinking about that. I was like, well, like why do you need more headroom with your charge pump than you do you know what I mean? Than the op amp clipping will allow.
Well, it's probably worth a try. I mean, just to see what it would sound like.
Yeah, it's just the thing because I listen to it and I really don't hear any difference between that and like, tube screamers and similar pedals, you know what I mean? It doesn't sound as ragged as the regular Rat or or like one of those parentheses fuzzes like the Earthquaker um Sun O, what I forget what they call that pedal. They kind of sponsored Sun O, right? And they this
Right.
pedal. It's kind of like an octave fuzz, but it's got with the octave off, it's basically like a Rat,
Hmm.
right? So it's basically it's kind of like a Rat, like a little high gain kind of sounding Rat. But then it runs on 18 volts, and I'm like, does it really does that 18 volts, does that do anything when you're clipping? You can't get past the threshold of the diode clipping.
Yeah. It's interesting. The Rat has been getting a lot of attention recently on YouTube, and I think um, we talked about a little bit on the show when we had Steve on last, and I've never owned a Rat, so like my kind of familiarity with the sound is it's just based on like what other people have played with it. Um, I mean, I guess it's got a heavy sound, but I don't really. To me, it's not like a radically different or better than like a tube screamer.
Yeah. Yeah. That I built that parentheses fuzz, and that's like it's kind of like a Rat. And I thought it sounded like pretty good for a distortion and kind of unique. It sounded similar, but not the same as like tube screamers, right? But it does sound different from the DRV, right? It is very different from the DRV, right? Um, but it only runs on 9 volts, like I don't know that like there's any headroom difference that's going to matter when you're just clipping so hard,
Right.
right?
Yeah. So you
Um,
save a few cents on parts and a little bit of
yeah,
soldering.
yeah, those charge pumps are expensive, you know. But anyway, so this was also like when I built the elk, I tested this PCB again, right, with all the parts on it. So just I was like, okay, we're gonna confirm it this time. And then as I built it, like I matched up, like I went to the schematic and the layout and matched all the parts to the schematic on the Big Muff page. So it worked on like I built basically 2 Big Muffs from 2 different schematics on the site, using the board. So it was pretty effective, you know. Oh, actually, one other thing about the Sustain-R, right? Okay, so the Sustain-R used uh like audio taper pots instead of the linear taper pots, right? So a lot
Hmm.
of the big muffs, like like I think like conventional wisdom says that you'd use like a you know an audio taper pot for the volume, right? And then
Hmm.
either like a lot of big muffs use like a linear taper for the sustain and the tone, right? And I always kind of figured that was correct, though I see some people using like an audio taper one for the sustain control, So this was kind of weird that they were all 3 audio taper, and I put them on that same way because I had 3 audio taper pots, right? And it has kind of a weird feel too with the controls. It almost makes it feel like a different pedal just because the ranges are different and the way the tone sweeps is different, So
In a good way?
What?
In a good way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, I'd almost recommend it,
That's interesting. That's such a kind of a seemingly arbitrary difference. But like you're saying that your experience was that it was actually very, pleasing. It was very surprisingly different.
Yeah. This was actually, it sounded pretty good, and I don't know, it's kind of a good experiment. You're like, oh, big muffs, are they all the same? They are kind of the same, but then they're also kind of, you can get some that are kind of unique or maybe sound kind of different from the others in a certain way. They're all in the same corral or, in the same genus, but they're different species of big muff, or I don't know.
Right.
Right. So anyway, so that was kind of a fun build. I got some other junk on my workbench here to work on.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, actually, that's my problem is that I got too much junk on my my bench. It's really hard to get another project
Yeah, for
finished.
sure. Here, I'll give you the quick tour, right? So there's my bench right there. It's just like covered with stuff. I'm like, I don't have blank space where I can work. So that should be just put on the to-do list, like clean bench.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I gotta make that like right after we do this. It's gotta be like clean the bench off.
Yeah, I should probably do that tonight.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be getting back to the soldering tonight. And I told you before I do have to work tomorrow, so I don't have my full weekend. But yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping that I'll get a lot done in January to make up for it.
Oh yeah. We got some serious, New Year's goals, right? Resolutions,
Yeah. I mean, I definitely have to, have that to look forward to because it's such a busy time of year, both at work and just personally. So I can't feel guilty about the things that I'm not getting done.
Yeah, it's rough. It's hard to get everything done,
Yeah.
I know, especially with work. I'm hoping we'll have some time off though, because I'm off. You got to work, but I'm off Wednesday and Thursday.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So, yeah, so maybe I'll do a little something then. It's kind of relaxing. So I just come down here. I'm like, okay, I'm not at work working because I'm working at home, like, and then anytime you're here, you just might as well do a little work, and you're like, right. Anyway, yeah. So I got a few things I'm working. I got this DS1 PCB. I'm gonna try and stuff this in one of those, 125B cases like this because it just fits,
Right. What mods are you doing to that one?
Oh, that's a good question. I found this PDF of mods, and I guess like Robert Keeley and some other guys did a bunch of mods, and then somebody compiled them together into a PDF. So I can give you a link to it. It's over on the DIY Stomp Boxes site, right? So I was gonna just try out all the different mods there,
That's cool.
I think there's like a couple of things where they modify like the tone control, and they put some switches on the clipping diodes to change the the type of diode.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it's
we
cool.
did on that the what's it called, the Electra.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, they just have a toggle switch or 2 toggle switches, right? So anyway, I'll give those a try and see what they sound like.
That's cool.
I had this
actually, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, go ahead. You go ahead.
All right. Well, it's kind of a change of subject, but I was looking at those mod boards on the Guitar Fetish website, and I was thinking, what mod board would be cool to put in that Stage Master? And you know what those are? They're kind of like onboard effects. And one of them, it's kind of like it's like it's like a wah that you control with a knob. And I thought that's kind of cool. Um, that'd be kind of a tricky thing. Like if you didn't have feet, or it's like if you're one of those guys who's running down like one of those catwalks or something like that, and you don't have time to go back to your pedal board, it'd be cool to have like a wah on your guitar.
Yeah. Yeah,
Some of the other ones, I don't know if it's important. Like would it be good to have a distortion built into your guitar? I don't know.
What about a delay?
Delay.
You know?
Yeah, again, if you're the Edge and you don't want to be, running back to your pedal board or asking the guy downstairs to hit the delay. I mean, he knows the songs. Your sound guy, he knows what, when to kick in the delay. So he doesn't, the Edge doesn't need to modify his, 57 Stratocaster, whatever, to, have an onboard delay.
Yeah, you put the mod board. I mean, the mod board might be a good idea, but you put it in a cheap guitar, it doesn't go in like an expensive guitar,
Yeah.
Right. Or at least one where you're like, okay, this one sounds good the way that it is. I don't want to put it in there and then like not like it and have to take it out or have it, like route out a bunch of stuff, a bunch of material, right? And then not like it.
Yeah. Well, the Edge wouldn't do that. I saw the rig rundown with his guitar tech, and apparently he travels with every guitar that he recorded with. So like if he does, if he played the Strat on Sunday Bloody Sunday or whatever, he plays that same guitar live. Like that's just what he does. He believes that like the tone of that song comes from that guitar. He doesn't try to play it on a different guitar. He doesn't have like an all-arounder or something like that.
That's weird. Maybe that's good. Maybe that's his secret sauce, right? Because like I always feel inspired when I change up guitars or I get tired of a guitar. I'm like, I gotta play something different,
Yeah.
Or if I do a different tuning, then it's like, oh well, I'm gonna leave this one tuned the way that it is, but I'll grab the other one that's in like a different tuning,
Right. Yeah. Well, for me, it's all about the pickups. Like, I've been really into P90s lately, so I thought I'd get this one out. And this is my Casino. And these pickups sound great. Of course, this is a hollow body. It's fully hollow, so it does feedback a lot. So I need another guitar with P90s that's solid. That's why you always need to be, building new guitars.
Yeah, I know. I gotta get rid of some guitars and finish the guitars that are like half built, Yeah, I kind of got off that. I gotta get back on it, Kirk. Gotta get some work done, So anyway, I built that. I got some other PCBs on the side here too. I want to work on that Eurorack drum machine thing. I think that could be fun.
Cool. Well, it sounded really great on your breadboard.
Oh, that was a different thing. That was Arduino, the like byte beat generator.
Byte beat. Oh, okay. So the other thing that you're talking about is an actual Eurorack module.
Yeah. I bought this kit. Let me see. I have it here actually. It's hard to see here, but this is like the front panel for it, right? And it's got like, imagine like the circuit boards are this size and there's just 3 of them. Right. So they're stacked up. So it's like 4 layers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And they're all just stacked up. So, and there's a lot of parts, right? So I've just been soldering for the last couple of weeks, and then I kind of was shy some parts, so I had to order some things, and then I had to order a couple more transistors because I forgot to get one type of transistor, So anyway, so I got all that stuff came in the mail, and I got the boards almost done. And then also like I needed some of these like standoffs to like hold all the circuit boards together. So I ordered those from China, and so that takes weeks, and then finally I got those parts. So I pretty much now I have everything on my desk, right? I just got to build something, right? So I got these brass standoffs and these like, I don't know what these are, like 3, but I forget what they're like, 440 kind of threads or something like that. But anyway, now I can start assembling things, and then I'll probably be shy something. I'll probably get to the very end and there'll be like 1 or 2 parts missing. I don't know, right? So
Right. Yeah, I know that always happens to me. It's like I'm missing one stupid thing, like a football jack or a, like a switch tip or the,
yeah,
mounting
right.
plate.
Yeah, or you ordered one of those, but then it took you like a month or 2 months to get all the parts together, right? And then you're like, where did I put the switch tip? Or
Right.
where's that jack plate? I could just finish this guitar if I just had like the one part, right? And then you're like, oh shit, if I order it, it's another 2 weeks, or it could be shorter if you just get from someone nearby, but
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
mail's slow. Yeah, guy, I bought this like FX8. It's like a Eurorack effects module. It's just got reverb and delay settings on it. They're
Okay.
kind of it's got like a programmable thing. You just hit a button and you can cycle through the different programs, right? It's got a thing on the web too, so you can go to their website, you can pick the effects that you want and then download them onto the thing, right? So you can kind of customize them. But anyway, so I bought that, and the guy was like, oh, I'll get it out to you today, right? And he mailed it to me, sent me the tracking number, and I looked and it was like, oh, it'll be delivered tomorrow, right? And I was like, oh, great. But then like it never showed up, and then the USPS site was kind of giving these vague messages like, oh, we're not sure where that is. It's at the the collection facility, with no date, no suggested date. And then it sat that way for another 2 days, and then it finally showed up.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so the post office was like, oh, we can deliver that overnight. Oh wait, no, we can't. We've lost it. We don't know what's going on.
I really miss the days of the brick and mortar store that you could just go down there, like Radio Shack. What a useful store that was.
I know, right? There's a couple guitar pedals you can just build from Radio Shack parts, and they're actually really cool, right? There's a couple that you can do, right? Because you can do the Bob Tavia, right? It's like kind of this octave. It's like probably one of the better octave pedals out there, to be honest. It sounds as good as anything, right? I had a friend who's really picky too, and he's like a super Jimi Hendrix fan, and he was like, oh, that octave sounds great, man. He really liked it, and all the parts you could get from Radio Shack,
Oh,
except
that's
for
great.
maybe the box. But they used to sell like kind of a box similar to this, but made out of plastic with like an aluminum faceplate,
Interesting.
So you could put a pedal in it. You could put a pedal in it. You wouldn't want to stomp on it hard with your jack boots or your combat.
Right. Oh yeah, your Gene Simmons boots.
Yeah, your steel toe. Yeah, I know, your Rockstar boots. Rockstar boots. It's good. That's my new stage name. Of course, like I'm wearing like those, like
toe shoes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, the Vibram 5 fingers, I'm like, hi.
I mean, Rockstar boots is pretty open-ended. It could include the toe shoes.
Who you call an open-ended? Right. But anyway, yeah, so anyway, you would want to break those. Sorry, I'm just okay. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, Radio Shack was a great place. I know. Too bad we can't just start a new one, I keep seeing like one of those, like, one of those places that's like, where they're selling that hipster clothing, it kind of looks sort of, it's kind of designerly, but also kind of looks like a sports brand or something, it's like a skateboard shop too, and it's just like out in the avenues, and I was like, man, I want to open up one of those for like, synthesizer equipment and spare parts for your electronic projects,
Yeah. Maybe that's something that you could combine with like kind of a showroom for for completed electronic devices.
Yeah.
Because you had an idea at one time of like a very kind of like a bookstore atmosphere, but for for guitar effects and Eurorack modules and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
if
yeah.
people
You
could
have a
also get
store.
parts there, that would be great.
Yeah,
That's a thing that it makes a lot
yeah,
of sense to have as a brick and mortar place that people can go in and try out these devices and hear what they sound like.
yeah. Total DJ and experimental guitar,
Mm-hmm.
hangout, right? You
Yeah.
just anybody can show up and play for as long as they like, right? Yeah, yeah. That would be real popular around here.
I think that would
Would
be
travel
popular
far
in
and
San
wide.
Francisco.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, they probably have one in Oakland, but
Oh, they probably had a couple in Oakland. See, that's San Francisco's like weak these days. San Francisco
mhm.
used to have cool shit, and nowadays there's just like nothing here except for people, camping on the median,
Yeah, yeah,
right? I'm just like, what is wrong with San Francisco? Though it's not anything that Tucker Carlson, says, right? It's not like I got hope for the city, but you know what I mean?
well, yeah. I mean, it's just a dark time everywhere, but it shows up. It's more visible here because San Francisco, it kind of rolls hard with the waves. Like when the economy is doing well, you see a lot of techies out spending money. Um, then a thing like COVID comes along and people just start heading for the door.
Mm.
And like homeless people start losing their access to shelters, and yeah, the tenderloin has gotten really out of hand,
Oh, is
and
it
it's
bad out
it's
there?
spilling. It's pretty bad, yeah. And I think it's causing the homeless population to kind of spill out over the rest of the city.
Yeah, I've been seeing more homeless people in my neighborhood, and I'm like out by the ocean. So like you
Mhm.
see people along the beach because people maybe camp out there and they camp in the park, but it's kind of like I've been seeing more and more. But also it's not an easy place if you're homeless because you have to walk far distances to get anywhere.
Right.
Right? It's not like downtown, there's like a lot of stuff and it's like a short distance away. So usually you don't see them out here because it's just like less comfortable, right, for them to live. But
And
lately
it's
I've been seeing a
inconvenient.
lot of them,
Yeah.
like a lot more. It's kind of weird.
Right. Yeah, and I kind of feel like it's for their safety. They don't want to be around like the critical mass of other homeless people because there's a lot of crime that happens within the homeless community, and
Yeah.
so you don't want to be too close to the population centers. But yeah, then you have to go, if panhandling is how you make your living, then you have to like go downtown or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Yeah, I feel like, I was walking through the park today and I was like, you know what? Like we shouldn't have parks. Like all this stuff, like we got to put that on hold until we take care of all the people, and then the rest of us can have the park back, Like, you know what I mean?
Well, I think that's one idea, but I also think that we shouldn't have like crap loads of vacant commercial space. Like if you walk around the financial district, but even more like Union Square, there's so much commercial space that's not being used by anybody. A lot of those high-end stores have closed recently because of the pandemic and because of crime against, like robberies and things like that. And that space just isn't being used at all. I know that there were some hotels that were kind of being converted into temporary homeless shelters. But there's so much more space in San Francisco it's just they're just squatting on it. Like nobody gets to use it, and it just keeps the real estate at this precious level where um, it's still barely affordable for a lot of people who live here and work um, low wage jobs.
Yeah, it's pretty bad these days. Oh
Yeah.
man, such a downer note. And then the music scene is not very good either.
Yeah.
It's like kind of non-existent these days, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I will say though, um, on a brighter note, speaking of the music scene, it seems like everyone is into coming to cities to play live music. Like Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds just announced a show. Kraftwerk is coming. Um, there's that Cruel World Festival that's happening in um, March, I think it is. That's in Pasadena. So that's like, Morrissey and Bauhaus and um, I can't even remember. Like they're just every cool band from the 80s, kind of dark wave music festival. So there's just a lot coming up. I think everybody's expecting that, people will be out in force come January 2022.
Wow.
So yeah, it's happening.
Yeah, cool. I guess everybody's gonna come out, you know, because it's been like 2 years, you know. Though
Yeah,
actually, I guess they did Outside Lands a couple weeks ago.
you're
I
right.
didn't even
Yeah, there were
hear
a
it
lot of
though.
great bands
I
involved in
didn't even
that.
hear it. Usually, I can hear it from my
Hmm.
house, you know, because it's really loud. I don't know. And I walked through the park and it kind of was there, but it didn't seem very crowded.
Interesting. Well, I saw
Yeah.
the gate where people were going into the park, and yeah, it seemed like a lot of people. Of course, it's Halloween also, so there are a lot of people in costumes going into to rock out to Outside Lands. Um, Parking was terrible. I was out and about during that time, and yeah, there were people walking from way down by the ocean to to get into the park.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't like big crowds like that, you know, even when there isn't a pandemic.
right. Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I like going to a show. Like I went to the chapel to see dry cleaning the other week, and there was a pretty good crowd out to see them, but it wasn't too terrible and was totally worth it.
Nice.
They put on a good show.
Cool. I've never heard of them.
Oh, you haven't heard of them?
Dry cleaning. I like the
Dry
name.
cleaning. Yeah, check it out. They have a couple songs on Bandcamp, I think.
Cool. Awesome. Hey, where are they from?
They are from, I believe they're from London, England.
Nice.
And they're kind of like it's kind of like post-punk and like cool, like kind of like the fall, but with kind of a talk singing. Like the woman doesn't really sing, but she it's kind of spoken word, makes sound effects. Very different from, well, I think there's a little bit of a trend of this kind of thing, with the um, more of a spoken word or um, non melodic shouting kind of thing happening in music.
Yeah, maybe, you know. Yeah, I don't know. What was I listening to the other day that was kind of weird was uh Buffalo Daughter.
Oh yeah, they're pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, they were I had heard of them but hadn't really heard them. And then I was listening to Boris, right? And they were like,
Mhm.
"Oh, Boris collaborates with Buffalo Daughter." So I was like, "Okay, let's go listen to some of that."
Hmm.
You know, and I was listening, it was pretty cool, but it's also kind of music that's like it's kind of different. Like it's not like there's not like verse, chorus, verse, bridge, you know. They'd kind of just build these weird patterns and evolve them over time, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious if they're like if they kind of started out as like a jam band or something like that, because they definitely have like they set a groove and then um, kind of fill in the blanks.
Yeah, there's another band called, have you heard of OOIOO?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got the impression like they are just like kind of just picked up their, like I was super impressed with their record. It was just so good. It blew me away. A friend of mine played it, and then I was like, oh, I have to go buy that, and so I went and bought it for myself because it was so much fun. But then I got the impression later that essentially when they made that record, the drummer, she had been in a bunch of bands. So she was with I forget who, but like some big band in Japan, kind of avant-garde rock thing. I forget what they're called. I'll think of it in a minute. But then anyway, she just got her friends who had just picked up the instruments, and they were like, oh, let's try out this thing, make a band, And it was super cool, Um, but yeah, so I was listening to that. I thought that was pretty good. What were we talking about? Sorry, I lost track there. This never
Well,
happens on our show.
exactly. Yeah. Well, it'll be covered by the theme. We'll put it in the title of the episode. We'll make everything clear. We'll wrap everything into a
Oh yeah,
nice little package.
it's a mystery wrapped in an enigma.
Yes.
For sure, right? But
yeah. Yeah, well, we were talking about
oh yeah,
like non-melodic singing,
yeah,
or vocalizing, or
yeah. OOIO does a lot of just like kind of weird voices and patterns and stuff. It's cool.
Yeah, I haven't heard a lot of them, but what I did hear, I did like. So
Yeah. Well, actually, I guess my point with that was that these Japanese guys, they just start a band and they just do it. They're kicking our ass. Like
right.
right. Out here, like nobody can play because there's like, oh, it's hard to get practice space. There's not, but over there they're just like, they're just like, we meet every week and we play. We just get a gig at the bar and that's it. And then they just keep doing that for like 20 years.
Yeah.
25 years later, and then they're touring the planet.
Yeah. Well, Boris is pretty inspiring because they just kind of do what they like. They're not like trying to conform to a genre. And I think that the music industry in the Western world can be kind of tough. Like you have to,
Yeah.
you have to find your audience, and you have to, you have to be good. And
Yeah. Well, I know that's the elusive part. I think actually that's not it. I'm gonna refute that and say that, it's not like, talent, is a giant T, right? It's like talent T, it's like little T, right? And then there's like hard work, large H, right?
right.
Or just like, what else? Persistent, giant P, right? You're just like, you just do the same thing every week, you just like make an album every year, and all of a sudden, 10 years later, you got 10 albums, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like what you said earlier, and this is before we started recording, about like just recording a song every week. I think that's,
Oh yeah.
maybe it's not going to be the best song ever recorded, but
yeah, for
like
sure.
if you do a song every week, like, They Might Be Giants recorded a song every day for their answering machine, and they're a great band.
Isn't that crazy? They had the dial a song. That's so
Yeah.
funny. That takes me back. They were doing that, like I think when I was in college or just right after I graduated college. I don't know. It was a long time ago. It was before.
Yeah.
It was before 2000s. We were still in the 1900s, olden days.
Yeah.
The
good old days.
Anyway, so so that was kind of fun. What were you listening to? Anything else?
I was. Yeah, I listened to a lot of Boris, and I'm sure I put some other things on my list. I was listening to this band from. I hope I'm getting this right. I think they're from Australia. They're called Jaala, Jaala. It's 3 women, and yeah, their album Gap Tooth was very good. Yeah, I like the singing, and the songs were good.
Nice.
Yeah, Jaala. I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, good idea. right?
They have a few albums on Bandcamp.
Nice. Yeah, I think Bandcamp's pretty good. I think we're due for another Bandcamp Friday.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I'm gonna think. Maybe I should think about something. Think what should I buy?
I need to do that. I did. I was kind of like going through the recommendations of like certain artists, and I found myself on familiar ground, and the little thing pops up and it's like, "Oh, it's time to open your wallet." And I was like, oh, I wanted to listening to something new, so I broke its little heart and said no thanks for the link that it sends you to buy
Yeah,
it. um, but I need to buy some of those things that I keep running into,
yeah,
because
yeah.
that's how the artists
I did
survive.
that a couple like a month or two ago. Like I was just like, well, I'll just buy a bunch of stuff because it's the Bandcamp Friday. So I probably spent like 25, $40, something
Mhm.
around there. I forget. But I just went on and I was just like, oh, I'll just buy this and this because everything's like $1 or $5 or $7.99. It's all pretty cheap.
All right.
So I bought like an album and then I bought a bunch of like single songs from people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important to keep the keep buying music, because
Yeah.
ever since Napster came out, everybody thinks they don't have to buy music, and
Yeah.
artists have to tour in order to make their money.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, I don't know that, yeah, people used to just be able to play too. Like I swear when I was younger, you could go out and see live music, maybe there's still some live music. Maybe it's just not a possible thing to do live music anymore.
Well, I think San Francisco has become um, a desert for live music. Some big bands from the Bay Area have notably left town to be successful elsewhere, like the OCs, who are from here. The Eilers set, they moved to New York. Actually, I haven't heard from them since they moved, but they were great. They were one of those best of the Bay bands. The what were they called? The Paul Bertolino was in that band.
Persephone's Bees.
Yeah, they were great. They moved to New York. I think.
Wait, speaking of Paul Bertolino, so like I'm on Instagram today and I see this picture of Paul Bertolino holding a record, and
Mhm.
it's something like, shoot, now I can't remember what it's called. It was like Tomorrow's Disco or Tomorrow Disco, something like that. And it had a picture of a woman roller skating kind of on a
Hmm.
disco floor, right? But then I was kind of getting the impression like Paul was in the band from the way that the copy was presented.
Who was the that was the name of the band, was Tomorrow's Disco?
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Because he's in F Bomb. That's the band
Yeah.
that he's in.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just this thing I saw and I was wondering like, what is that? Does he have a new band or what's up with this?
Hmm.
You know, is that an F-bomb record? I don't know, But anyway, so yeah. So anyway, so that's our goal, Kirk. We got to just make a song a week.
Right. I agree. Yeah.
I'm gonna just double down on this, right? So like if the song fails, maybe it'll just be a guitar pedal demo.
Exactly. Right.
So
Yeah. It's like we were talking
might have
about,
some
like what to play on
some
your
electro
demos.
sound elk on it. Right?
That's great. Well, it's like you have a new pedal to inspire your new song. So that'll be great.
Yeah, right. So yeah, that's my thing to do. Yeah. Got anything else you want to say today? Maybe we've hit time.
No, I think I I I kind of didn't get very far with my projects. Um, uh, got a lot more. I'll have more to talk about next week. How about that?
Awesome. I was actually going to suggest this to Brendan too, but
The song of the week.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Well, we can talk
why
about
not?
that later. Maybe Brendan's watching and he can comment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
He's got time.
Should we sign off?
Let's sign off. All right. Well, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Okay.